The biography of a cell. In our last story, we met the stone. The stone was cool, calm, and collected. It figured out that the best way to survive the universe was to shut up, sit still, and be heavy. But about 4 billion years ago, the stone got a roommate. If the stone is a monk meditating in a cave, the cell is a frantic, neurotic toddler who just drank a double espresso. It is squishy, it is fragile, and it never, ever stops moving. While the stone's goal is to persist, to stay the same, the cell's goal is to become, to change, to eat, to grow. This is the biography of your great, add a billion greats, grandmother. This is the story of how the universe stopped being dead furniture and started being a living drama. To find the first cell, we have to go back to Earth when it was a teenager. It was a nasty place. There were no trees, no blue skies, and no oxygen. The air smelled like rotten eggs, sulfur. The oceans were hot and green. Volcanoes were exploding everywhere. But deep underwater, or perhaps in a warm puddle on the side of a volcano, something interesting was happening. Chemistry was getting bored. Usually atoms are simple. They bump into each other, maybe stick together to make water or salt, and that's it. But in this warm little pond, the water was full of fancy ingredients: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus. And here's where our old friend the stone helps out. The atoms needed a place to meet. They couldn't just float in the water, they would drift apart. They needed a workbench. The microscopic surface of the rocks, clays, and minerals acted like a singles bar for atoms. It held them close together so they could hook up and form long, complicated chains. For millions of years, these chains of atoms formed and broke apart. Nothing special. But one day, a total accident happened. A glitch in the chemistry. A molecule was formed that could do something no stone had ever done. It was likely a strand of RNA, a simpler cousin of DNA. This molecule was sticky. It attracted other atoms floating by and click, click, click. It arranged them into a mirror image of itself. It made a copy. This is the moment the universe changed forever. Before this, if a cool molecule broke, it was gone. After this, if the molecule broke, it didn't matter, because its twin was already making another twin. This wasn't life yet. It was just a photocopier running on automatic. But it was the birth of information. For the first time, matter wasn't just stuff. It was a set of instructions. There was a problem. Our little copying molecule was naked. It was floating in the open ocean. If the water got too hot, or if a splash of acid came by, the molecule would be destroyed. It needed a house. Luckily, the universe is full of grease. Fatty acids, oils, were floating in that primordial soup too. If you have ever washed a greasy pan, you know what oil does in water. It forms bubbles. It refuses to mix. One fateful day, our little copying molecule got trapped inside one of these oily bubbles. Bang! The first cell was born. This seems simple, but it was a philosophical revolution. Before the bubble, there was no here or there. There was just the ocean. The bubble created a border. It invented the concept of self and world. Inside, order, safety, the copying machine. Outside, chaos, danger, food. The stone is part of the landscape. The cell is separate from the landscape. The cell was the first thing in history to say, I am me and I am not you. Now, the cell had a problem that the stone never had. The stone paid for its existence once, by giving up its heat. The cell has to pay rent every single second. Because the cell is complex and organized, the universe hates it. Entropy is constantly trying to pop the bubble and break the DNA string. To stay alive, the cell became a desperate engine. It had to create holes in its bubble to suck in food, energy, and spit out waste, heat. This is why life is so stressful. We are fighting a war against the laws of physics. The will to live is really just the panic of a complex machine that knows if it stops running, it will fall apart. So we have a bubble with a photocopier inside. It eats, it splits in two, it makes copies. Boring, right? But the photocopier was cheap. It made mistakes. Sometimes when copying the genetic code, it put an A where a G should be. Most of the time, this mistake killed the cell. But once in a billion times, the mistake was better. Maybe the mistake made the bubble thicker. Maybe it made the cell better at eating sunlight. Maybe it made the cell poisonous to eat. The cells with the good mistakes survived and multiplied. The cells with the bad mistakes died. This is evolution. It is the process of learning by dying. The stone doesn't learn. A rock today is the same as a rock a billion years ago, but the cell learned. It upgraded its software. Over 4 billion years, it upgraded from bubble to bacteria, to fish, to lizard, to monkey, to you. There is one last twist in the biography. For a long time, cells were simple loners, but about 2 billion years ago, one cell did something rude. It tried to eat another cell, but the smaller cell didn't die. It stayed alive inside the big cell. It struck a deal. I will generate extra energy for you if you keep me safe. That little prisoner became the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. This moment allowed life to get big, really big. It allowed cells to stick together to build skyscrapers of flesh. You, my friend, are not one person. You are a walking city of 30 trillion cells, all working together, all descended from that first bubble, all powered by those ancient prisoners. So in conclusion, why did the stone become the cell? Remember our talk about the glitch in the nothingness? The stone was the first attempt to fix it, by freezing matter into place. The cell was the second attempt, by burning energy to create something new. When the first cell formed, the universe opened its eyes. A stone cannot see the stars. A stone cannot wonder why it is here. But a collection of cells can. You are the biography of that first bubble. You are the stone that learned to eat, the water that learned to copy itself, and the glitch that learned to ask, why? The stone has the strength to last. The cell has the courage to change. And you have the burden of carrying both.